Jai Hind, Jai Bharat, and welcome to Dev Talks. This is Adi Achint. Indian Neighborhood. A lot of things are happening. As you all know, me and Ravi Shankar, we actually sit down and cover the neighborhood every month to see what's happening inside and how are the Chinese doing within our neighborhood, apart from various other developments that actually happen in that region. We need to keep a track because at the end of it, if one studies the neighborhood very carefully, each country is going through a bad phase, and a lot of them have been instigated by China. Actually, most of them, actually, all of them have been instigated by China. That's just the way I wanted to bring it out, sir. Good afternoon. Thank you so
Good
much for.
afternoon. Yeah, thanks a lot, Adi. We're having this show when a lot of things are going on. Neighborhood first, so we should focus on the neighborhood, never let go of it,
Mm,
right? And you know, every time we think that China is going to go down and going to decline, everything, part of the decline is trying to get back at India, right? I've been telling this on and on and off and off and on and off, whatever, that China's main target is India. It's not
okay.
Taiwan, right? They will get benefit here, and what benefit they get in this area, IOR and China against India, will give them that leeway, jump off to become a superpower. If nothing, it will make them the unquestioned regional power. Okay, so there are two dimensions to this story. We should never let go. So let's start wherever you want to start.
Actually, sir, I want to start generally. General, sir, I want
Oh
to
yeah,
start generally. Sorry for that pun.
okay.
But see, one thing that we know and the Chinese have tried to do is basically an inside out sort of a strategy with India. So there is Chinese influence within, which I think a lot of examples are around, and I don't want to get into that.
Mm.
Covered that extensively on my show on various different angles. Uh, there is also the Chinese influence outside. So the Chinese are basically on a periphery. If you look at it, they're trying to squeeze us in all directions, and that kind of tells us, as you said, uh, the main threat is India. So, with
Then,
that note, sir, I want to actually start by going through the countries as we do all the time, as we traditionally do
yeah,
in this.
before that, I just want to spend a couple of minutes with you on something totally different. Today Pervez Musharraf is no more. Okay, so there's a lot of reaction. So, in my opinion, this is what I tweeted out. Let me read it out. Musharraf must be in hell by now. However, it must be heaven compared to the hell he created for 220 million Pakistani to suffer. He's left behind them and gone. Okay. But then there's a caveat to this. God is smart. So when he went to God, he said, look, uh, मेरे को एंट्री दो. तो गॉड ने बोला भाई तू यहाँ आएगा ना तो कू करेगा तू यहाँ से बाहर हट. तो he went to bloody hell. He was sent to hell. So hell में ना devil ने बोला अच्छा तू आ गया यहाँ चलो तेरे को sort out करता हूँ. So he has been sent to one room, special room. Or in that special room, there's one stool. On those stool, he saw three more chaps sitting there. Ayub, Yaya, and Jia. Okay. So he's now sharing a stool with these three chaps. Now these four fellows have been given a widescreen TV. Okay. And in that widescreen TV, they can see everything which is going on in Pakistan non-stop, 24 by 7. Okay. So, yeah. So Musharraf knocked on the really door and said, "यार devil, तू यही क्या कर रहा है?" कहता है, "तू पाकिस्तान को देखते रहे, you'll rot in hell. That's your punishment. You're rotting in hell is to see the hell which you created on ground." So those fellows are all there.
I had certain unparliamentary words for him, but I didn't want to kind of say it on the show. But
No, I have not
God
been
bless them.
unparliamentary. Have I been? I have not been unparliamentary. I have been very clear and straight about what I felt. Okay, and all this I've tweeted out today.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Anyways,
Okay.
India has a
Anyway,
lot of Musharraf lovers who are saying
हाँ,
that,
वो
oh,
ठीक है.
General Saab and God
हम्म,
bless his soul and all that.
वो ठीक है.
I only say that bless the bee, and fill in the
No,
blank.
unfortunate, I mean, in a manner, these chaps created a country where 220 million people are today suffering. They're on the verge of no food, no this. We might look at it from a different point of view, but at the end of the day, these four rascals have left them with nothing, right? What kind of human beings they are? Okay, let's get on with whichever
Let's get
country you
on,
want
sir. We'll
to.
also give a little side jab to Pakistan
Yeah, वो
while
तो
speaking.
आएगा लास्ट में.
वो तो
Yeah,
आएगा, सर. शुरू करते हैं, sir. Let's get
yeah,
into. I am just actually rewinding your slides, right?
yeah,
Let's get into Nepal. Before, you know, why don't you take us through? I have two, three news that I'd like to also share, which I've
yeah,
kept on the
yeah.
side.
The South China Morning Post reported that there's a Chinese team in Nepal,
Yeah.
to study the Himalayan railway project which links Tibet to Kathmandu. Uh, the thing is this, I mean, why has this project was actually put on ice? Got revived with the new government moment it came into power. Now, at this point of time, it's only a project report which they have to do. After that, the railway will be built. But the long-term aim is to get this railway down to Terai. If it goes through, then you're going to see PLA on the doorstep at Tarai in Bihar and Gorakhpur and those areas. Okay, which is not the best
Favorable.
of things. Right. I also understand, there will be an opposition to this in Nepal. Okay. And you also have to understand that every 3 years or two, look, there's been a regular change of government every year almost in Nepal. If you see, ever since democracy has set in Nepal. But two-thirds of those government have been Chinese oriented for the in terms of time.
Large part of, yeah.
Yeah. So the chances of this going through will be high. Okay. We should be very clear. China doesn't aim for trade with Nepal. They are only aiming to get the railway down to the Terai so that they can outflank the LAC completely. This is not a new project, and it is not a project which is going to come out in the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. It might take 10, 15 years. But we need to start countering it from today. That's the point. Yeah, yeah, your take on it.
Well, as a matter of fact, yes, sir. One of the things, uh, 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 as a matter of fact, the feasible study that was released by this China Nepal study group talks about, actually, if I may be a little generous, you said 15 years. They themselves says about 22 years.
Maybe.
But having said that, I absolutely agree with you, sir. And the factor that I am worried about is that the Nepalese are going to blindly sign onto a project like this, pay for the damn project, and then have to pay the Chinese back the way
Yeah, that's the
Pakistanis
way.
are.
Yeah, look. So that brings you to the next thing. How do you counter it? You counter it with the Pakistan and Sri Lanka model.
Yeah,
See, the way we have to do it is we have to tell this to the people in Nepal. It don't get carried away. Okay. I mean, let me this thing. What are the implications? We know this business of that Lipo Lake Pass, that Limpudara, and all that came up, in 2020. It was all instigated by, China. Now this route, right, from see, the problem is if they reach Kathmandu, getting down to Terai is not an issue.
yeah,
And if you they have a couple of governments in succession which are pro-Chinese, then they might start this project from both ends. That is the danger, and we need to be aware of this danger, right? And we need to take steps. That's my only thing which I have. Or rather, my proposition for this.
absolutely. So I think Uh, Indeed. But one interesting thing that came out of a little research that I was doing on this, sir, is the factor that this particular project is a bilateral project. The Nepalese are very resistant to actually join the bandwagon on BRI, in spite of the communist government being in power. What do you think is the reason, sir?
They're worried. They don't want to get caught. In a bilateral arrangement, it can be set aside. But in a
Yeah.
project like BRI, they are caught legally.
Hmm.
Okay, and bilateral arrangements can always be backpedaled and all that.
Hmm.
So it is that's the only reason.
Apart from that, sir, we also see the Chinese putting a little bit of an economic cost on the Nepalese.
No, see, let's be
Their
very clear.
yes, sir.
China is no more the cash-rich station, no, nation where it can go with bucket loads of money and splurge it. Firstly, it never had that thing. It was always loans, but now that is also not is
Yeah,
drying out.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, so with BRI going southwards in most places, right? So there is a problem, and so both sides will go cool on it, or rather they'll go slow on it in some manner. But the Chinese will like to hasten the whole thing up, right? Because it gives them a tremendous geostrategic advantage, right? That's the point.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely. There's no question. As a matter of fact, Victoria Nuland is there, and she was there in
Hmm. Yeah, let her do what she has to do.
and she's promised $1 billion, sir.
Yeah, but
Large
let's
amount of
see
money.
how these.
I'm sure the Pakistanis would have been crying tears of blood, saying, "यार ये नेपाल को दे रहे हैं, हमको भी दे दो यार थोड़ा सा एक आधा 10-15 million." But yeah, I mean, there is. I think the tug of war has started up, and India needs
Yeah,
to be. I think I agree with you, sir. We need to. Sir,
we
would
need
you
to be
agree
on top
that
of the game.
we need to be a soft approach to Nepal rather than a, you know,
That's a different thing. That's a different thing. How do you want to derail this whole thing is a different thing.
hmm,
One. Number two is you have to remember uh, you have to support Nepal. You have no choice because of
absolutely,
historical connections and all that. But you also have to contend with the fact that today there's a Maoist majority in Nepal. How do you convince them not to be Maoists, or even if they are Maoists, how they shouldn't support China? This is their challenge. It's a diplomatic challenge rather than a military challenge. Okay, there are issues. Let's see how it goes.
absolutely, sir. So, which country should we go to next, sir?
Next door, Bhutan.
All right, let's go to Bhutan, sir. If I may.
Yeah, here
Yes.
there is a issue, right? Which I thought let me put it across. Recently in Kunming, these Bhutanese and the Chinese had a talk on resolution of the border, and they've come to some understanding. At least they've come to some understanding as to how to unfold the peace process or border resolution issue. But when you read this whole story, it sends alarm bells. What does it say? The talks were significant for Bhutan, but China has asked for 25% of the country. It's not a small amount. Okay, China has told Bhutan, कि भाई, you give up, we will give up on all our claims. Give us Doklam. That's the second point. Now, the third point is a little disturbing. Now, it says there is a section of population that believes there is an immense dependence in Bhutan on India. This section wants to resolve the dispute, have stronger ties with India so as to facilitate trade with it. So that means there's a communist element which is growing, a Maoist element or communist element or whichever element which is anti-India and pro-China, which is growing, and they will be bought at cheap, least cost. Influence of how Chinese are, and the problem in this is that the monarchy could get sidelined, like it happened in Nepal, and if that happens,
Big
you're
trouble.
looking at another Bhutan, uh, right? or another Nepal and Bhutan. Implications. You have to understand the implications. If you see this map, the red portions are the places where there is a dispute. In the north, there is two places called Jakarlung and Pasarlung.
Possible.
Okay, and to the east is to the west is Doklam, and to the east is the new claim on Sakting. Now,
By the way, it
Sakting
doesn't
is,
even connect China.
huh?
It doesn't even touch China.
That's a different story. The reason why they have said Sakting is because Sakting is next to Tawang. Tawang is they've claimed as part of their territory as Arunachal. Since this is there, that is the logic. But if they come and sit at Sakting or that area entire in between, your complete defenses are outflanked. So their deal is we'll give up claim on Sakting, Asarlung and Jakarlung, and you give us Doklam. So all they want is Doklam. Okay. So and they're pressurizing Bhutan. So far, yeah, immediately after that, I think one of our officials went, foreign ministry officials went and had a word with Bhutan and all that. But a new element has come into the whole story of Bhutan and China talking one to one.
Yeah. Previously, it used to be under the guardianship of.
Guidance of the second thing is that Bhutan doesn't have, uh, the wherewithal to stand up to China, right? Either militarily, diplomatically, or economically. So, what do we do? The question then comes is what do we do to ensure that Bhutan doesn't fall in the trap of China? So, we need to recalibrate our ideas as far as Bhutan is concerned, and we also have here I will put it this way: there has to be a military component in it, and there has to be a diplomatic component and a commercial or other economic component in it.
Hmm, hmm.
Okay, you have to integrate Bhutan more into our economy. That's the first part.
Yeah.
Okay, and diplomatically, you have to start dealing with the Bhutanese in a different way, and politically, you have to start dealing with them in a different way. I mean, for those of you who have not been to that part of the country, the area in India which is alongside Bhutan, right from Kokrajhar and those areas in Assam, right from Misamari downwards. Okay, till the time you come to Samchi in West Bengal, this entire belt in our side is also left-leaning and communist-oriented.
Yep.
Okay, or it is troubled by insurgency, right? Barpeta, Kokrajhar, all these places, districts, right? So you have to deal with it politically so that you neutralize that element which is anti-India, or rather cap it so that it doesn't grow. And then the people of Bhutan have to say, okay, we will look only towards India and not China. And then and only then will Bhutan be able to stand up to China. In the meanwhile, you have to strengthen the Bhutanese army. We always have been training the Bhutanese army. I've myself been involved in training the Bhutanese army officially, not now, as way back as 80s, 80, 81. I went
Same.
and did a stint with the Bhutanese army, Royal Bhutan Army, then RBA training. So we need to do more. We need to equip them better. We need to make them think India. It's a long term prospect. It's not that we have not done enough, but I
Hmm.
think the time has come for us to do more, right? And Bhutan cannot get out of our grip.
This one is dangerous.
Yeah,
This one is dangerous.
this
There's no
one is
question.
dangerous because it affects Sikkim and Tawang both.
Among both. Actually, there's also another factor to it that uh, whatever said and done, I mean, the problem that I see in terms of the opposition, if I may call it, in Bhutan, it doesn't pose itself the opposition, but as you said, that section of population which wants to normalize things with China, I think a lot will go our way if we are able to actually tell the reality of China.
Yeah, but then you have to do that all over again. See, the
Yeah,
same model of convincing Nepalese with the Pakistan and Sri Lanka model has to be go across to Bhutan in a much stronger manner.
yeah. But Nepalese, there's also the advantage of language, the advantage of culture and religion
No,
and all
it's
that.
there here also. These people understand us well.
Yeah. They speak
Okay.
Hindi, quite a bit of them actually.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I've been in Bhutan. I've been to the other end of Bhutan, northern Bhutan, and people understand us very well in those areas. There's no problem. There's no problem in their understanding of India and Indian culture. On that, there's no doubt. And then you need to use this religious card of Buddhism in this case, because the majority religion in Bhutan is Buddhism, and a whole lot of the Buddhist monks have a huge control. The monasteries have a huge control. So we need to use that intelligently, right? To keep Bhutan on our side. Okay. After all, you still have the Dalai Lama here. You have important monasteries in Sikkim. Okay. You have important monasteries in Himachal still. So it's not as if, or for that matter, in Ladakh also.
Yeah, yeah.
In the same sect of Buddhism runs along the Himalayas. So we need to use all these leverages to ensure that Bhutan stays with us.
Right, sir. Next country, sir. Should we go to Bangladesh?
Yeah, we'll go to Bangladesh.
So, Bangladesh, I mean, Sheikh Hasina, for that matter, uh, there is an opposition leader called Nitai Roy Chaudhary. He came out and said that this dancing with China is not good for Sri Lanka, and this whole Sheikh
It
Hasina
won't. Yeah,
trying to
I get what
counterbalance. Okay.
I get what you're saying. But the fact is that Bangladesh is in a tight situation today. We know
Hmm.
that. It's already gone to the IMF, and the IMF has cleared its loan, and it's a matter of time they'll get it.
But there's
It'll be
also
good.
another.
It'll be, I mean, let me. It'll be good if IMF gives the loan to Bangladesh and Bangladesh stabilizes. Because if IMF gives the loan and it goes under the IMF program, then the Chinese influence will automatically get reduced. Okay, but there's a RAND report which I read. A base in Bangladesh is a high priority for China. So they will invest anything which is required to get something. And the thing which raises hackles is this revival of this Tista project. Okay. Now this Tista project is just below the line Jalpaiguri Kuch Bihar. That inside about 10 to 15 kilometers inside Bangladesh territory, Indo-Bangladesh territory. Somewhere you, you draw a line between Siliguri, Jalpaiguri, Kuch Bihar, and Binaguri. That line, south of that. Now Alipurdwar around
Hmm.
that area. Now, the point is this is also going to be a long term thing. If at any point of time Bhutan caves in and Doklam, that Jamperi Ridge and that area goes towards to China in an exchange, then understand this. A Chinese on the Jamperi Ridge will be in visual line of sight with someone on Tista River.
Yeah, yeah.
There's nothing in between. Okay. And it's just 23 to 24 kilometers there. So the Siliguri corridor, that's the threat. What do you want to do? And mind you, this is something which I've just put out, you know, 2 3 days back also. in my show on the continental versus maritime debate. I request everyone to see because that has linkages with this, right? Which again based on the South China Morning Post. So, but it's an uncomfortable situation for us to imagine that China will be sitting to the north and the south of the Siliguri corridor in some form. Okay,
There's a
there's no
news.
there's no threat at this point of time.
Hmm.
There's no threat. Let me be very clear. But if things are allowed to drift and we don't take counters, it will become a threat.
So.
Yeah.
There's a news that came out in the Daily Star, which is the Bangladeshi national newspaper, sir. And actually, it made a very interesting comparison. It spoke about the Chinese actually faking the GDP, and this which was brought out in 2016 and 2019 and stuff like that. And this guy has done an investigative sort of a journalism, and he's talking about the that power project plant. I forget the name.
Okay.
Matabali power project plant, which was supposed to, which was about $5 million sort of a thing, and he compared this particular plant. It was, I think, you know, with some plants that they have done in Pakistan, and they've done it in back in China and all that stuff. And he called it. He said, and he gave details, very clear details, of it being about 8 times more expensive.
Yeah, these things will come out.
Yeah.
I mean, we know what China does. Okay. And that would, so in a way, it's good because
Mhm.
if such details come out and Bangladeshis are quite sharp, they'll keep China out of the equation. The people will keep China out of the equation. In a way, it's bad because if that will expose the government and throw the
Yeah.
government off and
But having said
instability
that, sir,
will build.
if the Bangladeshis have gone into the IMF, the chances that the Chinese would be able to establish themselves, don't they kind of reduce? Because that's
It
kind
might
of,
not. It might
I've
not. I
I've
mean,
heard that's
look,
the first law that the IMF is saying no China money.
no, it might not be no China money, no nothing, but the
Yeah.
fact is that you can't stop this from happening.
Okay.
There's a limit to what China IMF can do. Okay, so there is
That's true.
right. So there, so I will like I said, the threat is not there now, but you neglect it, and the threat it will become a threat.
Yeah.
That is
Absolutely.
all.
Absolutely. I think the most burning issue is this Tista,
Yeah,
and which is there, and of course the Rohingyas, which are. As a matter of
yeah.
fact, I just
Rohingya is not that much of a problem at this point of time. The way I look at it, it's something between Myanmar and Bangladesh. It's not with China. Okay,
Hmm,
since we're talking this neighborhood thing in the shadow of the Chinese influence, Rohingya thing is not that much.
not features in that game, sir.
Yeah, yeah,
So let's
right.
move forward, sir. Which country would you want to go to? You want to go to
Look,
down south?
yeah, I'll just take a passing mention of Myanmar before we go
Yeah,
down
sure.
south.
Let's do that, sir.
Yeah, Myanmar is still continuing to be in its own problems. Now the opposition has also started raising funds.
Hmm.
And the thing which worries me there is that the poppy crop has gone up by 30%.
I
Okay.
think that's a short way of fighting an army occupying your country. Start growing poppy.
So, and this poppy cultivation going up by 33% uh, could benefit the army and the opposition, but it doesn't benefit anyone else. It is to the detriment of the entire thing because a lot of drugs will get smuggled into India,
That's true.
right? So that's the only thing I leave it because otherwise it festers, Myanmar. So with this, just the mention that we need to keep our finger on Myanmar, whatever come what may.
As a
Let's
matter
move
of
on
fact,
to
if you
Phil.
remember, we had done this interaction on
Yeah,
Neighborhood Watch, and we said, yeah, nobody's gone and all that stuff.
no,
So then a month, two people went.
right. So I hope someone goes there and does something and starts tackling these issues.
Indeed.
Yeah.
There's also the issue
So
in Myanmar with the opposition forces, kind of the People's Democratic Front, as it's called, PDF or something like that.
yeah,
And the Chin army and the Arakan army kind of.
See, there every forest has an army, so we'll not talk of names. Okay. Uh, but the fact is that instability will continue in Myanmar. Are you going to use this instability to your advantage or help Myanmar go reach a state of stability? And positive stability towards you is the question, and which you have not been able to resolve.
That's what the ASEAN is also saying. So that's
Yeah.
indeed the right thing to do.
Okay.
Correct.
So, okay.
Sir,
Yeah.
let's go to Sri Lanka, sir.
Yeah. Let's go to Sri Lanka. Now, Sri Lanka, okay, I'll talk about this later. Now, we know that China is looking at ports. These red dots are the ports: Sonadia, Kakafu, Hambantota, and Gwadar. Sonadia, uh, Bangladesh has said, will not give you, they've given it to China already. Kakafu in Myanmar is going to take a long time. It's unstable. The China-Myanmar economic corridor is still not taken off anywhere. So it leaves us with Hambantota and Gwadar. Now, when you look at Hambantota, uh, the good part is that there is, like again, so your foreign minister has gone to Sri Lanka, right, and built stronger ties so that we can marginalize China. And there's another report which says India spies a China-shaped hole to fill in Sri Lanka's economic crisis. So I think we've laid the thing very straight with them. We'll help you, but no going back to China. But the fact is that uh, they already say that one third of Sri Lanka is under malnutrition, and inflation is very high, and there's no, you know, things have not improved, and things won't improve till the IMF program comes through and money comes through. That has not yet come. It is just that now I think China has finally said we'll help Sri Lanka, or rather, we'll agree to the restructuring plan because they also have no way out of it, right? So let us see how it goes. Things are not under the surface. There's a lot of disquiet in Sri Lanka, and these Rajpaksha fellows have come back. Both, all of them have come back, and they are calling the shots from behind. That's the general
Behind.
feeling, right? So the thing is, it's at a critical stage. Will Sri Lanka recover or not, or will it go completely under or not? But the good thing, as far as we are concerned, is it's the chances of it going towards China are lesser than before, and
That
we
is
have
true,
to,
sir.
yeah, we have to just be at it. We don't have a choice, and we need to help them through. Yeah,
That is true, sir. The
yeah.
problem is that there is the trust factor on China is kind of is slipping, sir. A couple of days ago, we saw this thing that came out that the Chinese are now going to help out, and they will
No,
help
no,
out
there's
with
no
the
help.
restructuring.
There's
No, I
no
mean they
help.
will agree to the restructuring of the loan and
That's all. That's
yeah.
all. Yeah, and in a way, even the Chinese are a bit miffed with Sri Lanka.
As a matter of fact, sir, day before yesterday, this thing came out where the Chinese, it says that the IMF deal is now on a sort of a speed breaker because China is not agreeing to
Yeah,
what they
this
had said earlier now.
back and forth will continue,
Yeah.
but that back and forth gives India a lot of leeway to do what it has to do.
And Sri Lanka is
So,
more or less an educated population, sir. They
see, the
know.
point is this: educated, uneducated, all those good things, bad things, and all you set aside, they are in pain.
Yeah,
Okay. The positive thing is that they know that the pain relief comes only from India, no one else, right?
that's true.
So, uh, while I think we made some headway in Sri Lanka,
We did, sir.
we
I believe
have,
that the Dalai Lama is also going there.
yeah, he'll go because
That's gonna
Buddhism
burn.
and yeah, yeah,
That's
right.
interesting.
So, okay, and
What next, sir?
that brings us to Pakistan. So we don't
Arey,
need all this.
sir.
We don't need a slide for that. Okay, so
Arey, sir.
take off the slide. Yeah,
अरे सर क्या बोल
right.
दिया आप
So in our neighborhood, if you talk of Pakistan, I mean, you can talk of Afghanistan and Pakistan together, and the Chinese influence there. Obviously, they are China is on a slippery slope. Okay, we know. I mean, we'll not discuss Pakistan, but if you look at it, the CPC has gone for a toss completely.
We'll discuss China, Pakistan, sir.
Yeah, China, Pakistan. So CPC is gone for a toss completely. That Neelam Hydel project is packed up completely, right? And yeah, Gwadar is in problems because Hagdot Tariq of Gwadar has jammed that port. So whether that port will, and their main problem is with the foreigners. That means China. So that belt they're in an issue. Any day now there could be an attack on one of these Chinese fellows. And Pakistan, the way it is, even today, I believe there's some blast in Quetta or someplace.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So these Baluch rebels are not going to let Chinese off the hook. Now, if that happens, Pakistan is in bigger trouble. So is China. Okay,
They're
so is
worried, sir.
China.
They're
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 worried.
they're worried.
Yeah.
They're worried, sir.
And they've sunk so all the money which they're now, it's very clear that they're not going to get back.
Yeah.
Okay. And Pakistan has no option but to go to IMF. So they're going to ditch China sooner or later in some form. Now, when it comes to Afghanistan, all those attacks on the Chinese people there have has put caution on China, right? So things are not rosy that side. In fact, if I you ask me, India has to do nothing. Just leave it to the Taliban and all others; they'll sort China
Sir,
out.
we have to do one thing, sir. I'm sorry I'm being a little funny in this one, but we have to buy about 1,000 kilometers of red carpet
Uh,
and put it across right from the Wakhan corridor right into Kabul.
and tell them कि आ जाओ.
आ जाओ भाई, आ जाओ.
So
Hashtag
wait,
छोड़ा मैं
so
बुलाऊंगा.
the point is that this is where they are, and actually that relationship superficially it says we are still the Iron brothers, this brother, that brother, but I think under the surface there are cracks developing.
That one, sir. Secondly, the Chinese dealing with Afghanistan directly.
Look, they're going to be in pain after that. Now suddenly Pakistan is realizing how what it is to mean to handle Afghanistan. Sorry, and Taliban, they will also learn it. It's not going to be easy.
Mhm.
Okay. So if you actually look at it, it's a mixed bag for India in the neighborhood. Okay. And one thing I want to, the larger issue, India is growing strong, but the neighborhood is going down. That is something which India has to attend to. We
Yeah.
need to take all these countries along with us. Whatever growth we have in our country, we need to enable their growth also. We don't have to share goodies with them, but we have to enable their growth. And to enable their growth, we have to get their trust, right? That is the last point which I thought I'll leave behind in this issue of our neighborhood. And if you have anything to say, you can say,
30
then we can
seconds
take up
before we
questions.
go into our questions, sir.
Questions, yeah.
30 seconds, I want to ask you. Um, from the first neighborhood watch till now, have we become better or no?
I think we have become better. We've helped people through COVID, which is great. And then people will not remember that. I mean, forget that.
To get that.
We've assisted all these countries in their times of need, wherever, whether it is for food, uh, helping wherever they wanted help, we have given them, right? So I think we've come out better. We've come out stronger. Our own nation has become stronger than before. But we've got challenges also, new challenges on the horizon, which was not that a year back. Overall, we are better off, but we have to face the new challenges, right? That's where I think we leave it, and let's take on the
Absolutely.
questions.
Get into the questions, guys. Before that, please like. I can see very few likes. Please hit the like button. Helps us grow. Of course, there's a QR code right here for those of you who can. Please do help us, help the Dev Talks efforts, and you can also become a member or send us super chats and super stickers. Visit the website thedevtalks.com and Sir's Gunnershot.com as well, and Sir's YouTube channel, which will be linked, I'm sure, to the website. So please do go through that and check out the videos. I want to, right, let's get into this. Huh? Pakistan, like the Chinese, are the first and the biggest victims of their government. I don't think many Indians realize this.
No, I don't think. I think many Indians know. They're very clear that the governments in both the countries have left their population down. And that's one of the things, when you talk to the common people in India, you realize it. So I think that awareness is there.
So, with the way China and India are going respectively in the next 10 15 years down the line, China and India situation, main roles and the tables will be reversed.
Ashish, I don't think they will be reversed, but I think we'll be on a better wicket with China, and definitely in 10 to 15 years, our own neighborhood, I think we should be able, a neighborhood will be completely under our grip. That's what I see, right? You have to remember, China is not going to collapse or run away. It's a 17 million trillion dollar economy. It's not going to run away. It still remains the world's largest manufacturing entity, right? So that's not going to run away. It's going to weaken, yes. Uh, so will it be weaker than us? I don't think so, because we have our own problems. Remember that, right? So all we can say is that we will be stronger, they will be a little weaker, and we should. That's my view, and we should be having in about 10 years now from now a better hold on our neighborhood.
That is an interesting this thing, sir. Our goal should be to increase whatever reservoir of goodwill amongst people of those countries may have for India.
I agree with him 100%. It's a given. Without that, we'll not go anyway. We should not
And
forget
he
that
also
people
says we
are
must
our,
follow this model for Nepal, Bhutan, Sri
yeah,
Lanka, and Burma.
everyone. We should do it because people are our wealth, and we should invest in them. Unlike China, which invests in money, there is transactional, they're more commercial, right? There are no free lunches. Even if you have to give a free lunch, it doesn't matter,
We
right?
can today. So when you can, you must. I think
You must, yeah,
it's not a. I'm not boasting, but that's how the cookie crumbles. So when you
yeah.
can, you must. There's no
Must, yeah.
question about it. Should we follow the later EU like model with Nepal, Bhutan, and Sri Lanka with the same civilizational and dharmic culture and values? India crossing 10, 20, 30 trillion mark in the future.
That BIMSTEC thing is like that only, no?
Yeah,
BIMSTEC is all about thing. If it comes through, fine. That's the model we are looking at, right? But there are issues because cultures are involved, different people are involved. Right now, different influences are involved. So we really can't get into the EU model till you get into some modicum of peace. And remember that model can be punctured by Pakistan. Pakistan is the otherwise SARC was the ideal model,
yeah,
which Pakistan punctured. So let us hope people are aware of it, but will we be able to realize it is a question mark. Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. There's no question. This is an interesting comment. Abdul Wani says Nepal and Bangladeshi survival is based on anti-India sentiment.
I don't think so. I don't think so at all. Right. Yeah. I don't think so. He must be from Pakistan or somewhere. The way I this thing, he thinks. Don't dream of that. Yeah.
That's all right. So I've been getting quite a few of Pakistanis in the past
No, that's okay. Look,
few days.
yeah, they will be looking at it from their point of view.
Yeah, of course, and I respect that. But the whole problem is that I'd like to have a conversation with one of them to actually
Oh,
understand what
forget
it
it. वो
is.
या उनको वो मुशर्रफ के साथ रहना दो खुद से.
Yeah. Oh हाँ, आज तो यार आपका celebration day है कि morning day है
Uh,
पता नहीं, but
जो भी है.
it's yeah, it's clear China will wage war on India and they want Tawang and Arunachal.
Yeah, Ajay, we'll leave this business to a Sino-Indian talk, not for the neighborhood, right? We'll see. Though I fundamentally agree with you, but this talk is for a different occasion. This
Having said
question is
that,
for a different occasion.
yeah, but it does, Ajay, to a large extent, what you're saying, it does connect with the neighborhood, Bhutan, you know,
And Nepal.
this thing. So yeah, what you're saying in a way is pretty correct.
Okay.
Sir, Raghuram says, could the debt trap by CBC and a two-way sword for India? First, debt trap these countries, push these countries towards India, and then intervene if India cannot help.
This is far too. That's far-fetched thinking. I don't think that will happen, Raghuram. Right? Intervention and all. I don't think China is in any position to do so, and especially after this balloon shalloon which is gone, I think they're going to get into a tighter corner. And oh yeah, incidentally, we're going to discuss this later in the day live. Are we? Adi?
I'll, yeah, I mean, I'll just fix the time and let you know, sir.
Yeah, you fix the time and we'll tell. We're going to fix this balloon controversy, but we're going to do it on Ghana Shot because I want to explain the technologies behind that whole balloon business. We need to understand that. Then we'll look at the geopolitics of that.
Done,
Yeah.
sir. Uh, Urmila says, sir, isn't this time for India to come with a Monroe doctrine for its neighbors?
नहीं नहीं
Secure our backyard.
देखो बात यह है कि we shouldn't get ahead of ourselves. We have our own problems. Let's sort it out, and then we'll take all these doctrines across. Until then, let's be exist as good neighbors. Though your idea is okay, but I think we have a long way to go before we
Yeah,
can get to that
I
level.
think 5 trillion would be the point where you can start talking about these
Yeah,
kind of
you
things.
can start looking that way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I really appreciate the thought process. I must say,
yeah.
Madam
Thought
Urmila, you have
process
a
is
lot
good, but it
fantastic
has
thought
time to
process.
go. Yeah,
Even now, the Chinese, for that matter, have not been able to come up with a doctrine of this sort.
no,
They
no, no. No, but that
evidently,
look the BRI is something like that.
yeah. But the Monroe doctrine that don't come into my neighborhood,
Yeah.
you've got forces all around.
Mm.
So the Chinese are quite hemmed in right now, as we've kind of taken up in our different channels. So last two questions, sir. Jan
Yeah.
Shankar, in the future, would you see an internal war in China? This leads China to collapse
We'll
as a
talk of
nation.
China separately. I don't think this is part of the neighborhood story. We'll talk of China when we discuss China. We'll answer this question.
Also, one question from me, sir. Neighborhood. I mean, the old philosophers and people like
One minute. Huh? There's a mobile going all the way. Right. Yeah. Tell me.
people like Chanakya, people like a lot of people have actually spoken about, and then Indian, philosophers have spoken about the fact that the concept of India or the subcontinent of India, as they say, was with the cooperation of the neighbors of India. I mean, all
Yeah.
the kingdoms and all the settlements and all the um, setup which was around, or rulers which was around India, used to have an allegiance to India. It wasn't actually owned by India. It was allegiance, and there was influence, and there was whole lot of I won't call it control, but it was a very well knit sort of a system. Uh, and the great power, if you read, I mean, John Mersheimer's writings on great power very clearly say that no country can become a great power until unless the neighborhood is kind of settled. Uh, so personally, and I mean,
Let me put it this thing.
sorry,
I disagree with that thinking to a large extent because Germany became a great power without its neighborhood. So did Russia. So did China. Okay, it's except USA, which could be in splendid isolation. Everyone else had problems, including Britain. So powers grow out of conflict.
actually, I wanted to ask you, do you agree with it or not?
No,
You rubbish to treat that.
so the powers grow out of conflict. So we are facing this conflict. We have this thing. So that is why we'll grow out of it as a power. So to that extent, that the whole story is a little different. Um, eh,
So you disagree with Mersheimer's concept.
yeah, he is just one guy who's got his own ideas. That's about
What
all.
about the ancient Indian concept of
See, that
having
will what?
influence?
No, that will help us grow to being that power. Okay, that will help us grow to that power.
Yeah,
Okay, in a modern context. Okay, and so to that extent, I'm very sanguine that if you go by fundamental principles of life, we will eventually become a regional power, definite, and a global power in the near future. And this is why
absolutely,
I've written about this already. Right? Yeah.
absolutely. I think that's a very interesting and very nice way to close this particular talk, because we need to look after our neighborhood. And if we are looking ourselves as a large country and a strong country and this and that, it's not about putting your strength across and threatening them, but actually having them willingly come to you and willingly kind of want to work with you. So that will be the victory of India, sir. And that's what we are trying to study right here on Dev Talks. So till next time for another interesting subject on another geopolitical affair, I think on Wednesday. Jai Hind, sir, and thank you so much.
Jai Hind. Thank you.